The Galactic Council had studied humanity for 3 standard cycles before making their move. Their xenobiologists had documented everything: human sleep patterns, the necessity of their circadian rhythms, the way their cognitive functions deteriorated without proper rest. The reports were unanimous. Humans required 8 hours of unconsciousness every 24-hour period, or they would collapse. It was this perceived weakness that made the Zephyrian Empire confident in their 3-pronged assault. Admiral Kethavar of the Zephyrian fleet reviewed the battle plans one final time aboard his flagship, Void's Edge. The strategy was elegant in its simplicity: simultaneous strikes across 3 critical human colonies: New Terra, Kepler Station, and the mining world of Hadrian's Rock. The attacks would be timed during the human sleep cycle, when their defenses would be minimal and their response times sluggish. "Sir," his tactical officer reported, "all 3 fleets report ready. The humans should be entering their rest period in approximately 1 standard hour." Kethavar's mandibles clicked in satisfaction. The Zephyrians had evolved on a tidally locked world. They knew no sleep, no vulnerability. Their overlords had tasked them with breaking humanity's expansion into the outer rim, and this weakness would be their key to victory. What the Zephyrians didn't understand was that necessity had always been humanity's greatest teacher. Captain Sarah Chen had been awake for 37 hours when the first Zephyrian ships emerged from hyperspace above New Terra. The stimulant patches on her neck delivered a steady stream of amphetamines and nootropics directly into her bloodstream, a cocktail that would have killed her grandfather, but merely kept her sharp in humanity's new age. "All stations, battle alert," she barked into her comm. "This is not a drill." Zephyrian fleet bearing 27 Mark IV. Across the colony's defense grid, humans who had been sleeping snapped to full alertness. The term had become almost quaint. True sleep was a luxury humanity had largely abandoned after the first contact wars. Instead, they practiced controlled rest states, micro-recovery periods where the brain processed information while the body remained ready for action. Dr. Marcus Webb, the colony's chief medical officer, had been the architect of humanity's sleep revolution. His breakthrough had come during the Altair siege, when human defenders had held their positions for 6 straight days, while alien forces waited for them to collapse from exhaustion. Instead of breaking, they had evolved. "The human brain," Webb had explained to the Terran Military Council, "is remarkably adaptable. We can train it to achieve the benefits of REM sleep in 15-minute intervals. We can teach the body to function on polyphasic rest cycles, and we can enhance both with targeted pharmacological intervention." The result was a human military that never truly slept, never let its guard down, never gave enemies the vulnerable window they sought. On Kepler Station, Commander James Rodriguez felt the familiar burn of his 14th straight hour commanding the defense grid. The Zephyrian ships materialized exactly as intelligence had predicted, but they found no sleeping humans, no darkened windows, no quiet stations. Instead, they found weapons platforms that had been tracking their approach vectors for the past 6 hours, crewed by humans who had been rotating through 30-minute rest cycles while maintaining full combat readiness. "Target the command ship first," Rodriguez ordered, his voice steady despite the chemical cocktail keeping his neurotransmitters firing. "Show them what happens when they mistake adaptation for weakness." The station's railguns spoke in unison, tungsten slugs accelerating to significant fractions of light speed. The Zephyrian flagship's shields, designed to deflect energy weapons and withstand traditional bombardments, crumpled like paper against the kinetic barrage. Admiral Kethavar watched his carefully planned assault dissolve into chaos across all 3 theaters. The humans weren't responding like exhausted, sleep-deprived primitives. They were reacting with the coordinated precision of a species that had weaponized their own biology. On Hadrian's Rock, his 3rd fleet found the mining platforms transformed into mobile weapon batteries, operated by humans who had been resting in shifts, while maintaining full situational awareness. The miners turned defenders moved with mechanical precision, their bodies pushed beyond normal limits by medical science and sheer determination. "Sir," his communications officer's voice cracked, "we're receiving reports from all 3 theaters. The humans. They're not tired. They're not slowing down. If anything, they seem to be getting stronger." Kethavar's understanding of human physiology was about to receive a violent education. What his scientist had observed was baseline human sleep requirements: What they had failed to grasp was humanity's capacity for adaptation under pressure. The humans fighting his fleets weren't operating on natural sleep cycles. They were running on a carefully engineered combination of stimulants, strategic microsleeps, and the kind of desperate innovation that had carried their species from cave paintings to interstellar warfare in mere millennia. Dr. Webb monitored the battle reports from his laboratory on New Terra, tracking the biological data from thousands of human defenders across 3 worlds. Heart rates elevated but stable, cortisol levels high but manageable, neural activity showing the distinctive patterns of chemically enhanced focus. His life's work was being field-tested against 3 Zephyrian fleets, and the results exceeded even his most optimistic projections. Humans could indeed fight without traditional sleep, not just for hours or days, but for weeks if necessary. The key was understanding that sleep wasn't just about rest. It was about memory consolidation, toxin clearance, and emotional processing. His breakthrough had been learning to provide these benefits through targeted interventions while keeping the conscious mind fully engaged. The Zephyrians had based their entire strategy on humanity's supposed need for unconscious vulnerability. Instead, they found opponents who had transcended that limitation through a combination of medical science and adaptive evolution. 72 hours into the battle, Admiral Kethvar finally understood the magnitude of his miscalculation. His forces were exhausted, their precision degrading, their coordination faltering. The humans, impossibly, seemed to be operating at the same deadly efficiency they had displayed on Hour 1. The final transmission from his tactical officer was brief. "Sir, the humans have been awake for 3 days straight. They're not slowing down. We need to withdraw." But by then it was too late. The 3 fleets that had come to exploit human weakness limped home with barely a third of their original numbers, carrying word of a new reality in the galaxy. Humanity didn't just adapt to the universe's challenges, they rewrote their own biology to overcome them. They had taken their greatest perceived weakness and transformed it into an incomprehensible strength. The Galactic Council's intelligence files were updated with a new classification. When facing humans in sustained conflict, never assume they will tire, never count on them needing rest, and never mistake their biological requirements for tactical limitations. Humanity had learned to fight without sleep. In doing so, they had become something their enemies couldn't comprehend, a species that refused to be constrained by the basic requirements of consciousness itself.